So every time I tell a story, of course, it leads to another story. So it's story time, and this story is going to be regarding my audiovisual business, but it has to do with the fact that I made a grave error this morning. I made a comment that I said driving from Chicago to Rhode Island, 15 hours, now I know what my employees feel like. And of course, I got a lot of the haters, a lot of people, oh yeah, see that? He flies everywhere, the big shot. Now he knows what his employees feel like. Well, in an earlier TikTok that I did, people probably remember this, I talked about I will never ask an employee to do something I won't do. And it goes back to a TikTok I told about the sewage pipe that broke in a crawl space, and I would never ask an employee to crawl in that. So I wrapped myself in trash bags and I did it. And I showed my employees I will never ask them to do something I wouldn't do. That being said, when I started the audiovisual business in 1995, it actually started, I was a disc jockey, but then I started as a sound company. I became a sound engineer, mixing sound for bands. So I got a contract with the East Coast Marriott circuit. So what that was they had 10 Marriott bands, dance bands, top 40 bands, that would travel every 2 weeks and play at different nightclubs and lounges in the Marriotts along the East Coast. Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania was one. Stowe, Vermont was one. Providence, Rhode Island. Albany, New York. So those are just a few. So my job was to, oh, and also a place up in, that's right, up in Maine too. So my job was to drive in a truck, start on Wednesday morning and drive to Stowe, drop off and set up a sound system. Then I would leave there and drive to Albany, set up a sound system, leave Albany, drive to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, set up a sound system. And I would come home late Friday night. Then 2 weeks later, I'd have to go back and pick up all that equipment again and bring it to 5 other Marriotts. And I did that for a year. That was a lot of driving, a lot of overnight driving, a lot of late night driving, a lot of early morning driving. I did that as part of starting my business. When we first started, I drove to Texas. I drove to Florida a couple of times, drove to New Orleans. So when I said I never did the trip from Chicago to Rhode Island, that is true. I never did that 15-hour trip. But I did many, many trips early on when I first started the business. And now, yeah, I'm lucky. I don't have to do it anymore. I sowed my oats. I worked hard for many years doing those long road trips, okay? Even a year ago during the pandemic, I needed to buy a tractor for my construction company. Well, what did I do? I went with Rick, one of my drivers, drove 15 hours to Kentucky, bought a tractor at a tractor dealership in Kentucky, and drove it all the way back. That was 15 hours. So again, I made the mistake by saying, now I know how my employees feel. No, I already knew how my employees feel. I know how they feel about the drive from Chicago to Rhode Island, which is a very boring drive through Pennsylvania. Though Pennsylvania is nice, and I will add this to that story. My wife went to school at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that was a 10-hour ride. Whenever I went to visit her, I drove 10 hours to see her. I didn't fly, I drove. At that time, I didn't have the money to fly, I drove. She then went to law school at Villanova. Again, 5-hour ride. I made that trip every time to go visit her at school. So I've done plenty of driving in my life. I do know how my employees feel. My employees are all long-term employees. Rick, who went with me to Kentucky, just came back this morning from Texas. He took a 30-hour drive from Texas back. If they didn't like it, they wouldn't be doing it. And Rick's been with me 12 years. So, you know, my employees for the audiovisual business, and I haven't done a lot of TikToks on the audiovisual business, and I was talking to my staff today, which I want to do. Now that it's back up in full bloom, we're busy, very busy, and it's a really fun business. Technology, you know, the big screens, the projectors, the screens, the streaming videos. So that's going to be some fun TikToks. I'm actually looking forward to doing that because that is my trade. So I've never really, you know, even talked about the audiovisual business because during the pandemic, it wasn't really existing, but that was, when it was going strong, a huge business. And now starting this month, it went right back into business, which I'm thrilled about. So you're going to be seeing some audiovisual shows behind the scenes, setting up the equipment, the large screens, the customers that we have. We have great customers. Today we just signed a contract for a show that we've done 6 years in a row. They didn't have it last year in New York City at the Javits Center and the Hilton, New York Hilton. So we will be doing, we're going to be doing that in December. So we'll be talking about that. And so we have a lot of good shows coming up and events coming up. But I just wanted to let you know that I did start by driving, and I will never ask an employee to do something that I will not do.